Welcome to Write the Right Book, and we're going to take a look at some of the foundations to writing the right book, and it's about the evolution of your book. So you need a journal and a pen, a sheet of A4 paper for either later or tomorrow, something to drink and keep you hydrated, and a smile as you go through some of the questions that I am going to pose to you or for you. So this is me, I'm Dale, I'm a coach, an author and a writer, and I'm very much about helping people to get ideas out of their head, take them through a process and keep the project flowing until the book is published, possibly turned into an online course or other products and services. This is my furry family, so you have Ferdy Dog, Marley Moo and Angel. And they're all three rescues, and I spend my life pandering to their every need. And this is where we live, and you can see why I absolutely adore it, and you can see why the dogs love it, because they've got plenty of space to run around. And it's certainly good for me for reflection, because I walk my dogs about 3 or 4 times a day. So in terms of the kind of books that I write, I'll explain a bit more as we go through. But mostly my books are about writing. I've written 2 books with 3 other people called Navigate, and they are about executive leadership. We all taught on a particular course and we decided to put it into a book. I'm writing a series of Writing to Heal books. So this is the Writing to Heal book that you see there, something that I wrote many, many years ago, and I've just updated it and reproofed it and edited it. The 101 Days of Being Me is a journal that goes with my program 101 Days of 101 Days of Being Me, a journaling adventure. Plan Your Non-Fiction book is probably I'm probably best known for that, and maybe Writing to Heal. Healing Osteoporosis Naturally is my story of how I have healed my osteoporosis, and again I'll talk a bit more about that. And I do have several other books that I've written and many more to come. So I would like you just to close your eyes for a moment and take a deep breath and just imagine if you had the right book for right now, and you knew what this book was about and who you were writing it for and what you could do to make it simpler to get that out of your head, written and published. Now, I always think that when we look at places like Amazon and you see all of those books, how do we know that there's a space for our book? Well, when you've got the right book, the right idea, you know what your core message is and where you're going with everything, there is always a space for your book or books. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this evolution of your book, how this idea of what you want to write comes out and how it might change over the period. What types of books to write and why. And then what you want to create around your book, around you. And if you're going to include story, your story, which slice of life and why, and how will you present it? And then, what else do you create around the book idea? So there's what you want to create in the world, and then what you want to create around your book. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. Now, I've pre-recorded this so you can watch it at your own pace, in your own time, and I've provided the notes for you the slides for you to make some notes, because with the best will in the world, when you're watching a training of any kind, then you don't often have time to reflect. So if you have it as pre-recorded, you can pause and you can dig out that journal and you can start writing. So I'm going to assume that you don't know anything, and we'll just be right at the very, very beginning of our book journey. You may have an idea, no idea, or lots and lots of ideas. So the first question is I want you to think about, what kind of book do you want to write? So I've made a list there, but let's explore them So write down the first thing that comes into your head. So you might be thinking of a memoir, something around the family, perhaps a biography, perhaps your personal story, how to. I have no idea what you're thinking of writing. And when we're talking about the evolution of books, you may start with one thing and end up with something else. So memoir is a slice of life. It's perhaps a legacy for your family or a legacy for the world. You might want to tell a story around an important historical event, an adventure, something that's happened to you. Now, many, many, many years ago, I wrote something called Stolen Petals, and it's a memoir, but each chapter sits on its own. So it's not a story that flows into each other. They are each little stories about stuff that happened. And for me at the time, it was very much about healing. I wanted to write these little stories so that I could get them out and I could reflect. So you might, there's many, many, many different ways to write memoir. Now, family stories are absolutely fascinating. You might have had a great auntie, someone who was a spy in the war. I think the lovely thing about families is you might look at a family theme and then marry it to something that's going on in the present day and kind of do a comparison. And it's very much about documenting lives, often very historical. I love this, The Little Book of Love, and it's a book that you might make for a loved one, a family or something like that, and you put pictures and quotes and poems and stories, and it may eventually evolve into something else, but it's a lovely, lovely place to start writing a book when you don't have any idea about anything else. Now, personal story, this for me is you're sharing a part of your life that has, you've had an awakening, you've changed, there's been transformation, expansion, personal growth. But it's very much written so that you inspire someone else to do something with their lives. So 2 of my books come to mind. Both of these are currently, as I'm recording this, not published. Healing Osteoporosis Naturally. The story starts at fracturing my spine and a year of being in a terrible place. It was completely freaky. And I spent a year with, I must have read, I don't know how many books and papers on osteoporosis and all the other things that were going wrong at the same time. So this was very much its story and its how-to, and it's about helping people to find the root cause and create a healing plan. Writing to Heal, Journey to Self-Love. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but this is a book that started life as something else and will morph into something else. I'll explain later. So it's usually around a personal point, journey to self-love, confidence, self-worth, something like that, something you've been through, often a way for you to heal and for you to heal other people. And often we make this into a self-help book, so you share your story and you give people ideas about things that they can do. Now, it might be, when I talk about healing, it might be healing an organisation, a cause, a person, healing in a fairly broad way. So you might want to highlight some very human stories that highlight the need for some kind of social change. So that's kind of like healing in the world. And it's very much part of your core message and your personal brand. So you might want to build a business around this book. How to? So again, it may contain your story. It may not. It may be based on your knowledge, your skills and your experiences. So Plan Your Non-Fiction book does not have any story in. It's very practical and very process driven. Writing to Heal also is practical and doesn't contain story. So they are both examples of a how-to without the story. Now, Healing Memoir, I talked about Stolen Petals, and I use that very much to help me heal. The Rude Awakenings, Journey to Self-Love, again, the same thing. I just needed to write. And for the greater part, I decided I would not publish. but I have a plan, a master plan. So thinking about the kind of book you want to write, just write down what kind of book. Now that you've heard that, and remember, it's not set in stone. Things can change, and they often do. So let's have a look at the evolution of your book. Remember, where it starts is maybe not where it ends up. So I talked about this book called Rude Awakenings, and my story really starts in 2014. I'm not going to share the story, but it starts in 2014, and I leave the life. I had a very rude awakening, and I leave the life that I've known, and I make a journey to somewhere else. And a couple of years later, I realised that I absolutely don't love myself. And so I embarked on this massive, and I really, truly massive journey of learning to love myself. And it was very healing. And I wrote this book, Rude Awakenings. And it was very, very cathartic, because as I wrote it, I created a self-love ebook and a course. And all of that really helped me with the entire process. And then I got a proof book, and I started to read it, and I thought, nah, I don't want to do anything with this. And it stayed in the cupboard. And then, roll on 2019, I had the spinal fractures in 2018. So another year of big growth. And because I loved myself, I did whatever I could to heal. And I wrote again at the same time to help me healing. But I got to 2019, in fact, before 2019, and I started doing some planning and looking at my desires for my writing. And I knew that Rude Awakenings wouldn't be published in the format that it would, but it would be part of my Writing to Heal series, and it would be called Journey to Self-Love. So it would be part story and part how-to. So you can see that, something that started as one thing has completely morphed into something else. So wherever you find yourself, that's perfect. Just allow whatever to evolve and emerge to do that. Now, for me, it starts with journaling, and journaling is immensely powerful. It enables you to connect to your heart, your soul, your subconscious, and you're able to express yourself. You will find repeated patterns of behaviour. You'll make ha-has. It's cathartic, it's fun, but most importantly, it is a source of your stories, and actually it enables you to plot things out, because as the journey evolves, you have got a better idea of your timeline. And what you'll find through journaling is themes will emerge. I don't know what your themes are. You might have gone from self-hatred to self-love, anger and frustration to inner peace and contentment. Absolutely no idea, but you will find themes. So you might find a theme. So you might be a tech geek. You may have had a really, really rough time in school, and then through your journey, you overcame your fear. You discovered that actually you really did like tech, and now you help people to overcome their fear of technology. The other end of the spectrum, you might be a coach of some kind, spiritual, nutritional, holistic. You might have had a life-threatening illness, told you would never recover, full of grief and sadness and maybe anger and all kinds of stuff. And actually, you discovered the root cause of your grief, of your illness, and you created a process for recovery. And now that's what you want to help other people to do. These things will come when you journal. So, got an idea of what kind of book? Now, I just want you to write down why that kind of book. Why would you want to write whatever it is? Now, we talk about story and what is our story and what is the slice of life that we're potentially going to share. And it's thinking about how that impacts your life and your business, and how that will go on, that message will go on to impact other people. And our story is about lessons and learning and growth and challenges and gifts. And it's really aligning that with what you want to create in the world, what you want to do with this content that you're creating. So let's have a look at this, and I'm sure many of you will have seen this before. This is the Kubler-Ross change curve. So when we go through anything, we go through a series of kind of like emotions, behaviors. So, when you have that awakening, you maybe be in shock, you feel a bit numb, you go into denial and then fear and anger, and then eventually your story changes and you begin to understand, you accept things, and you start to move on. Well, the story that you write may not follow that exactly, but there will be aspects of this kind of undulating emotions and behaviours and aspects to your story and different themes emerging. So it's really looking at, when you're mapping out your book, kind of what stages did you go through? Because when we're writing, we want to emotionally connect to our reader, and chances are they have gone through some of this stuff as well. So the personal story journey goes through a number of iterations, if you like. So, we need to know the core message of our business, of our book, the theme, who we're writing for, etc., etc. So, how did it start? What's the opening scenario? What's the backstory? What's the challenges that were brought up? What choices did we make? What outcome turning points? And then how does that part of that story end? Because you can't keep telling a continuous story. It has to be a slice of life. And you want to think about, how does it inspire the reader, and what action do you want them to take as a consequence of reading your book? So one of the things that I do is I map stuff out. I get a big roll of brown paper, or I'll often get an artist pad, lots of coloured pens, and I just scribble, and start reflecting. And one of the things that would really help you is, after this training, is to go and do something like that. Is, we've thought about what kind of book, why we want to write that book, if it's a slice of a story or knowledge, skills, or experience, just scribble. And I would keep doing that in conjunction with my journal for about a week. I call it a week of observation, and it really is about noticing what is going on and just getting the stuff out of your head. So part of that process is, how is this book going to help you? Like, what's in it for me? Why would you spend, for some people it might be 6 months, a year, for other people it might take them 3 years to actually give birth to their book. So what's in it for you? What's your intention? When you set an intention, it's about where you focus and where you want to go, and it helps you to decide what you truly want. And how does this help others? What's in it for them? So my thinking point and my question now is, what is the intention you have for your book? What do you want this book to do for you? Then it's about asking, what do you want to create in the world? But I love this quote: every act of creation is first an act of destruction. And I think you have to let go of stuff that might be, I can't write, who's ever going to read this, I don't have the time. So there's something about letting some stuff go before you can open up the space to start the creation and the envisioning process. So you really need to think about, what do you need to let go of to be able to write this book, to be able to create this thing that I believe will change your life. So every book has a core message, and in terms of the creation, we need to think about, well, what is that book's identity? You and your book, and if you're going to have this for your business, they're all connected, and they will be based on themes. And when you write every chapter marries into the core message of the book and the core message of the business, the thing that you want to get out there. And your book needs to tell stories and create images and move people emotionally. So it's about answering questions and delivering value, because you want to inspire them and motivate them to buy this book. Now, you can't answer all of these questions right at this point. What is the vision for your book? What's the value that your reader's going to get? Who do you want to inspire? What slice of your life or your story, your process, your key learning? Why are you writing this book, and what is your intention? What opportunities will your book bring? Why do you need to write it, and why does your reader need to read it? And what do you need to bring it to fruition? So these are, I would print this out and I would take this sheet to bed and I would sit and reflect on these questions before you go to sleep, and scribble down, and then in the morning see what comes up. And that leads me very nicely into the My Book exercise. This is an exercise for you to do, which will help you to really bring together everything that we have discussed. Now, you need a sheet of A4 paper, and you fold it in half. So you're creating a book. On the front, you write the title and your name. And perhaps you'd like to write that in your journal now. And then when you grab your piece of paper, you might find that it's the same, or it might have changed. But the key thing is don't think about it. Just write the first thing that comes up. And write on the front one word that represents what this means to you. So it might be love, it might be journey, adventure, it might be patience, inner peace. Just one word. And then do a little doodle, a little scribble, whatever. And if you don't want to do a doodle, I don't know, draw a picture of you, put something that is pictorial on the front. And if you want to get coloured pens out, maybe you could create a very beautiful front cover. Now, on the inside of your book, we're dividing it into 3. On the left-hand side, it's all about what. What is your book about? What is your core message? And what is the process that leads to the outcome you want for your reader? Now, you haven't got much space, and this is just about maybe scribbling or mind mapping. It's just getting those first few thoughts out. Over on the right-hand side, it's all about why. So why are you writing it? What's your big why? And why would your reader read this book? So again, you don't have much space. Just a little bit of a scribble or a bit of a mind map. And then right in the middle, now you could draw a matchstick person now. So who is the ideal reader? What do they get? What's that journey? So maybe at the top, that's, what's the starting point? Might be some kind of awakening. And what's the outcome? What's the shift that they get? Where do they find themselves? What's possible for them? How will they know this book is for them? You might know their age, their gender, where they live in the world. There's all kinds of things. So just matchstick person, lots and lots of scribbling. Who is the perfect person that you are going to write this book for? Now, here is a big tip. If you get this right, it makes writing your book really easy easier. Because if you focus on one person and you're writing for that one person, you make a stronger emotional connection. On the back is the blurb, the sales pitch. Now, when it comes to the blurb, what you do is you do the first parts first, and then you pop your book under your pillow. And in the morning, so you sleep on it, and in the morning you write the pitch, because your unconscious mind will have gone, oh, lots of exciting things are happening here, and made all kinds of connections. Also on the back, add in the date you would like to publish. Scribble. What else can you use the book for? Coaching and retreat, courses and workshops, challenges and speaking. And there's one final thing that I want you to do, and that's to take this book out with you when you go networking, you go and see your family and friends, and you get it out and you brazenly say, this is my next book idea, and start talking to people. First of all, it makes you accountable, but you're going to get feedback. And when you have that feedback, you put it in your journal. It's part of the book journey. And you will then, someone will be sitting there and go, well, that's very interesting, that book you're writing about that journey to self-love, but what about X, Y, Z? And you think, I hadn't thought about that. So it's really, really useful, and it doesn't matter that it's a scrap of paper. In fact, that makes it even more fun. So please do take it out and do enjoy the process of the My Book exercise. So that's it. That is the training for today. So, what we want to do is watch the training, download the slides, take your time, go through the content and answer the questions, because it will help you to lay the foundation for what this book is about. And remember, this is a process of opening up a space and allowing it to flow and come forward. And the first thing you thought about is not necessarily what you do. So let's do a quick review. Write down 3 things that you have learned about your book. And write down 1 action that you will take. So 3 things you've learned, something about your book, and 1 action that you are going to take. I hope the action is that you're going to write your book. But actually, if the action is that you're going to do a week of observation, that is absolutely brilliant. So, what questions do you have? What ahas do you get? What are you going to stop doing, start doing, or doing differently so that you can get your book written? You can connect with me in many different ways. I have Book Brand Business. I have a Facebook group called Writing for the Soul, which is a lovely place to come and share your thoughts on your writing. I have 101 Days of Being Me, which is a journaling adventure. You can enroll on Soul Writers Academy 101 Days, and you will get, for 101 days, you will get a journaling prompt. And it's really to help you take a journey into yourself, but it's also designed to help kickstart your writing. So, if you don't know what you want to write about, go on a journaling adventure. And then I have a number of live events that I run over the year. And one of the things that you may be interested in is the 30-day Plan Your Book Live. Again, it's on the Soul Writers Academy. It's called Plan Your Book Live. And in 30 days, we plan your book, obviously. And more importantly, we get the ideas out of your head. We find the right idea. We get it outlined, get it all planned, chapter framework. And at the end of 30 days, you're ready to write. So that's me. My name's Dale Darley. I'm from Book Brand Business and the Soul Writers Academy.